Yeah, the vision is to be of service and have an impact, and at the same time, to continue to experience deeper levels of peace and passion and freedom. And, when you're not doing it from the standpoint of, you go deeper, go deeper, go deeper, it might not make sense because it didn't to me for a long time. But there's actually always new levels of freedom, right? There's actually always new levels of peace. There's new levels of feeling really good.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets, the podcast where we talk with successful career coaches on how they built their success and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is Davis Nguyen, and I'm the founder of Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, and even $100,000 weeks. Before Purple Circle, I've grown several 7- and 8-figure career coaching businesses myself, and have been a consultant at 2 career coaching businesses that are doing over $100 million each. Whether you're an established coach or building your practice for the first time, you'll discover the secrets to elevating your coaching business.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Career Coaching Secrets podcast. I'm your host Rexhen, and today's guest is Elizabeth Payne, an empowerment coach, speaker, and transformational guide whose mission is to help people awaken their inner freedom and reclaim their personal power. After decades feeling disconnected from her own voice, Elizabeth rebuilt her life and now helps others do the same, combining neuroscience, spirituality, EFT, and a background in engineering to help clients shift their energy, rewire their mindset, and step into alignment with their higher vision. With a magnetic presence and a message rooted in radical self-leadership, Elizabeth is the catalyst behind countless personal breakthroughs and a powerful reminder that we each hold the keys to our freedom. And it's a pleasure for me to have her on the podcast today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. That was a beautiful introduction.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you for coming. It's a pleasure for us to have you on. I wanted to ask you, when it comes to how you started this, what inspired you to become a coach and then start your own coaching business?
It was actually a little bit over 11 years ago, and I had spent my whole life very driven and achieving lots of things and checking a lot of things off of my list. But I found myself very much not truly deeply happy and at peace, and I didn't have clarity, and things just truthfully were not going great. And at that time in my life, I didn't know anyone that had a coach. I'd never honestly even heard of it. Zoom was not a thing then. People were actually using Skype. And at that time, someone came into my life, and believe it or not, that moment in my life, I know the exact day. I could actually tell you, I have the exact memory so etched in my brain. Everything changed. I had the first session with that person, and she brought new perspectives to my life. She was the first person that really began to just inch towards plugging me into my power. And everything shifted from that moment on. Like, if you could actually take a bird's eye view and see the trajectory of my life, it's quite actually just a miracle. But after that happened, I'd always been a leader in different spaces, but it became more clear that my actual soul journey would be to be a coach and lead people to that, similar type of transformation. And before that moment, it wasn't in my possibilities because it was new to me. Like I said, I didn't know anybody that was doing that. I had not had any experience. But yeah, for me, that single moment I can mark in my life as the actual greatest turning point.
And so right now it's been about 7 years and 2 months, something like that, that you have been started Elizabeth Payne Coaching.
Yes, that's
Cool.
right.
So throughout these years of you working with your clients and going through the coaching journey with them, what about it do you find the most rewarding since you started doing this?
Yeah, I would say, imagine the full circle moment of me experiencing the other side of that scenario that I just explained to you. I'm on the other side, and that person, when people come to me, they're plugging into their power, right? They're remembering their power, they're accessing their power, and that for them is the turning point. Things begin to shift and change. Their life gets lighter, they feel better, they have more clarity, right? When you plug into your power, everything changes. So for me, nothing is more rewarding and full circle to be on the other side of that exchange.
Interesting. And so when it comes to the people that you're coaching right now, do they, how would you describe, do they fit a certain industry, a certain demographic, a certain common theme or common goal that they have? How would you describe the ideal client profile?
Yeah, and there's a lot of things you can read about how you should focus your energy, right? And who might be your projected client or your ideal client. For me, over those 7 years, from the beginning, I've always wanted to be open. If someone's meant to come to me, I'm not going to put people in a box to where they don't fit in that box, so they're not going to come and have that transformation, right? For us to
Hmm.
have that soul connection. So for me, it's not so much about, they're from a specific space or sector or, there's no box, there's no label, nothing like that. It's more, I trust that if the person is meant to come, they will. Now you said, what are they feeling or what's like a characteristic that's common?
Hmm.
Normally people come and they resonate with the idea that there's something more, right? Like when you're not plugged into your power, like all those years, I actually spent 30 years before I had that turning point moment. I always had an inkling. I always knew there was something more. I didn't know exactly what it was. I didn't know, about the subconscious mind and about the backpack and about plugging into my power. But I always knew, even when I was younger. So most people, when they come, they don't know exactly what that is, but they've gone a lot of different paths. Likely they have a lot of achievements and accolades like I did, and they know that there is something more.
Interesting. So basically, the focus is always in the subconscious mind. Would you say kind of like you? So we have the conscious and the subconscious. The conscious is always that rational, the one we think with, and then we have the subconscious one, which is the one that we have maybe very little control over, or just like works. How do you impact the subconscious? And this is generally not a question that I would normally ask, but just curious how you think about this.
Yeah. So for me and most people that come to me, like you said, they're very in their conscious mind. I have a background in engineering, and that's quite logical. And I really threw everything into that for a long time. A brilliant logical mind, but things were not going in the direction I wanted them to go in many ways. And I ultimately wasn't feeling great. So the truth is that my subconscious mind, underneath all of that logic and all of that consciousness, was actually running the show. And that's when change is really feeling hard, or people don't want to change, or it's like I keep going down that path of change and I keep crashing, right? That's because people are very accustomed to working with their conscious mind only. That's what depending on your background and your journey, most kids are not learning about their subconscious mind, right? They're just operating from their conscious mind. So by the time you're in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, you're full speed ahead with your conscious mind. Your subconscious runs fully in the background. But the wild thing is that it's running the show. So imagine you're unaware, it's in the background, but it's actually creating everything that you're experiencing. So, there's some nuance to it whenever you say, how do you become aware or how do you make shifts? There's definitely steps, right? To begin to become aware again. You had awareness at one point, and it's just something that people, you don't keep that awareness unless you are intentional with it. And if you're not taught that when you're young, you get to a certain age in life and you have no awareness. So it's really beginning to take those steps to become aware. And once you do, the switch kind of flips and then you can't unsee it and everything changes, if that makes sense.
Interesting. So there's no relapses or anything like that. Once you change that, once you do the shift, there's no kind of like going back.
You can't unsee it. So you're right, there's no going back. Now, it's a very human journey where,
Hmm.
we're humans. So there will be ups, things that feel like ups and downs. there's bumps, right? Like you're gonna run off course here and there, but 100%, you can't unsee it. You can't go backwards. So once you have that awareness, the good news is you keep moving forward.
How would you then describe, like, we talked about who your client is. How would you describe the engagement with them if they're listening? How would you describe, is there a certain program of a certain length? How is that engagement with you?
Yeah, the other thing that just came to my mind is that most people that come to me are ready for self leadership, right? You mentioned that in my intro. That's a big part of it because with your subconscious mind, it will kind of trick you into not really, you're not really in your power. And to reclaim that and plug back into that, you have to be ready to really lead yourself, which can be quite uncomfortable, right? Because you're looking at your own patterns and you're looking at your own journey and you're seeing the part that you played in all of that. Now, that being said, what does it look like? What's the link? Things like that. The focus of the work, no matter which path the person takes with me, is that backpack, right? And that subconscious mind, because that's the root of everything. So we're going to work with a specific vision. We're going to work with emotional responsibility, but you can't have any of those things without looking at the backpack and the subconscious mind. The path is 12 weeks, whether it's one-on-one or it's my e-power program. My e-power program there are one-on-one sessions, but it's a self-paced program where there's modules of learning and then there's resources and there's homework. And we have check-ins along the way, and the check-ins are to ask questions, to get clarity. The homework comes to me and then we discuss that and go back and forth. But yeah, always 12 weeks, different entry points, right? And it depends on if the person wants more one-on-one time or if they really like to just jump in and pace it themselves.
Interesting. And for anyone thinking of getting started and is ready to take that next step, either that be working with you or maybe starting a little bit light, either reading a book. One book that I started, but I haven't finished yet, is, you might be familiar with this, is from Dr. Joseph Murphy, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. Is that like a book that you would recommend people start with before they come to you, or they come to you directly?
Say that if the book is the highest excitement next step, definitely trust that, right? Books are a great option for beginning to crack your brain open, right? To new things, new possibilities, new perspectives. There's been a lot of books on my journey. That first teacher that I had 11 years ago, she loved to suggest books and suggest multiple different ones and then allow the person to kind of pick and choose what felt most exciting. And she stretched my mind with some of those books that she suggested, right? They were way outside of my comfort zone, but books have the power to, like I said, begin to get your brain shifted, right?
Yeah, interesting. Cool. So right now, when it comes to, and this is a question that most coaches listening would be interested in, when it comes to people finding you as a coach or you finding them, what sort of like marketing channel is working very well for you right now?
Yeah, for me, when it comes to people finding you, when it comes to marketing, your backpack is so key because you can do all the marketing things, you can have the best intentions, you can take a million actions. But if you're not looking at what's in your backpack, that will just feel like extreme effort. If your backpack has unworthiness, right, or certain limitations or certain beliefs about how difficult things have to be, right, there's all kinds of things that could be in your backpack. So definitely get to the root and get as clear as possible with that in your backpack, because if you do, then those things you do will be not to say more successful, but the energy will just be more clean and more clear, right? As far as how do people find me, I said to you on the other one, when you asked like who comes to me, I am so open with how people find me, not ever limiting that pathway and even staying open to things that I never imagined, right? And that to me is the most abundant. If you've got someone only coming in one door, there's only so many people that can fit in that one door. So keep your mind open, get your backpack clear, and
Hmm.
then do the things that are exciting and watch what happens, right?
Cool. So right now, with your coaching from the business perspective, looking to the future for the next 1 to 3 years, do you have any specific goals you're working towards?
I am quite famous, or maybe infamous, but famous for saying that I actually use visions and not goals. And
Hmm.
sometimes that really super triggers people. To be honest with you, there was a time in my life I would have been very triggered by myself, right? I loved goals and I was just a living, walking goal machine. And over the years, I started navigating life with visions instead of goals. And that's something that clients will also do with me, that we'll do together. So for me, the true honest answer is no, no goals in the true sense of that word. For
Hmm.
me, my life is lived per a vision for the way that I desire to feel, right? The essence trumps the form. And for me, the vision has always been about more peace and more passion and more freedom. The truth is that whenever you have goals and you go for a goal, you're always going to be jumping from goal to goal. And sometimes people, they hit the goal and they don't feel great. I'm going to make another goal and they don't feel great and they make another goal. That's where I was at, right? Oh, I'm just hitting all these goals, but I'm not ultimately feeling great. And the beautiful thing is, if you're feeling great, right? If you have that part of things sorted, then the other pieces fall into place.
So a vision versus a goal.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it could also be limiting when you just have a goal, right? The vision um, doesn't, it's not very limited when you think about it. So right now, what is the vision then?
Yeah, yeah. The vision is to be of service and have an impact, and
Mhm.
at the same time, to continue to experience deeper levels of peace and passion and freedom. And when you're not doing it from the standpoint of, you go deeper, go deeper, go deeper, it might not make sense because it didn't to me for a long time. But there's actually always new levels of freedom, right? There's actually always new levels of peace. There's new levels of feeling really good. And that's really it for me. Present moment appreciation and awareness. So grateful for what is happening right here, right now, but acknowledging that there's always more. There's always another level.
Cool. And so right now, and this is a question that goes a little bit outside. It just goes back to the business, goes back to the conscious mind. And when it comes to investments that you've made over time, what have been some good investments that you feel very proud of, or that you feel like you had a good return from, or you learned a lot from? Could be investments in yourself or investments in the coaching business. And if any, what have been some investments that you feel like, I should have avoided this one. This was
Mhm.
not a good use of my time.
Yeah. I am probably going to give you a different answer than what
Mhm.
most people would, which might not be a surprise. For me, everything is always happening for a reason, right? So there have been times where I made a large investment in a coach or in a program, and I went into it with I was making the investment with the understanding in my mind that the person was going to teach me something or show me something. There was some reason I was making that investment, right? But I always went into it knowing no matter what, if the person drove me absolutely crazy, if they were not going to ever be in my life again, right? If it was like, I was wondering, what the actual heck have I done? I knew there was a reason. So I would go into it, and there was times where it was like, this person is not going to ever be in my life again, right?
Mhm.
Or this is not what I thought I was going to learn, but it's always reflecting you. So whatever that was making me feel, right? If they were saying things that were triggering me, or they were making me feel, I don't know exactly how to describe that feeling, but I would
Mhm.
look at what it was making me feel. I would look at what it was showing me. So I got to the end, and did I get what I was expecting? No, but I took
Mhm.
some really great stuff out of my back. If
Mhm.
you look at it and you only look at what you expect and you say, that wasn't what I expected, and you dump it and you say, I'm just forgetting that, you're missing some really great opportunities to take some stuff out of your backpack. And trust me, when you take something out of your backpack, it's more than worth the investment, because when you take it out, you don't have to repeat that lesson again.
Mm-hmm.
The divine is going to send you another person to reflect that back to you. So you may invest in another coach and get a similar reflection, right? The moment you can take that reflection out of your backpack is the moment you no longer have to keep experiencing that.
Cool. And you keep mentioning the backpack analogy. How would you explain that so for me to clearly understand?
Yes, that is really the crux of it all for me. I am the backpack queen. So whenever I met that person that changed my life over 11 years ago, there was one pivotal moment a couple sessions in where she said to me, Elizabeth, the way that your brain works is that you picked it up and you never set it down. And I don't know what it was about that moment, but in that moment, I realized, oh my gosh, I picked up that belief. I picked up that limitation. I picked up that experience. I picked up that emotion. I didn't know that I could actually set it down. So whenever I say you plug into your power, that's realizing what's in your backpack and also realizing I have the power to set it down. Right? And when you
Mm-hmm.
do, when you set it down, you leave it behind. You let it go. You don't keep experiencing it, right? You don't have to hang on to that emotion. You're not defined by that label or that experience or someone else's belief. The backpack is almost a simplified way for people to understand the subconscious mind. I have a program actually that has tons of content about the backpack, right? Like teachings
Mm-hmm.
about the backpack. It's a way for people to understand your subconscious mind. You're putting things in, but the moment you have awareness of your subconscious mind or your backpack, you're the one that can take things out and put new things in.
Interesting. So subconsciously, you don't really understand what you're putting at the beginning, or let's say consciously, you don't understand that. Not subconsciously, my mistake there. Interesting. So right now, what would you say is a challenge that you're trying to solve for next with your coaching business? Where do you see the bottleneck right now?
Yeah, no bottleneck for me. And that might sound odd to people, but the truth is that whenever you are getting really present moment, right? Like present moment awareness of where's the tension, right? Where's the resistance? Where's there static on the line? You're actually aware in the moment and you're navigating that in the moment. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not so much of things. There's a challenge and it's brewing and it's building, right? And then it hits you
Mm-hmm.
in the face and it's like, oh man, this is what I've got to solve right now. It's more staying in that present moment awareness and moving energy and shifting things in the moment. It's not like an overnight sensational change. It took years of me recalculating, right, and reprogramming my mind. But at this point, it truly is that way, and that it's present moment. I'm not.
And I was also thinking about actually fully becoming aware when it comes to that switch. You mentioned about 12 weeks. So it's basically something that, like, it does take time for it to actually switch. Are there also maybe exercises that you could see an impact, even not the actual big impact, but like a small amount of impact with some exercises that people can do?
Yeah, for sure. And it depends on where the person's at, because of course I always want to meet them where they're at. But for most people, presence is the first step. Because part of that non-awareness, like you said, you don't have awareness of your subconscious mind, you don't have awareness of your backpack, you don't have
Hmm.
awareness of what you're putting in, you don't even have awareness of the concept that you are putting things in, right? Part of the magic of becoming aware is slowing down and becoming present, right? Depending on the person's journey, that might be really uncomfortable, that might be really new, that might not be something that they're doing all the time. So I would start people with 5 minutes a day if it's brand new for them. It's like set a timer for 5 minutes a day and just begin to have body awareness, right? Begin to have awareness of your mind and your breath and build it up, right? Build it up over time. But your backpack and your subconscious mind, you can actually, once you have that awareness, you can feel and you can hear and you can tell when you're on a program, right? An auto program. It's like, oh, my brain just clicked to autopilot, or when you're not. But if you're never present, right? If you're always just going,
Hmm.
you'll never be able to do that. So the first step is begin each day to get present. 5 minutes a day, small commitment.
So 5 minutes a day, just allow yourself to be aware of your body, of your mind.
And your breath, and slow down, of your heartbeat, right? Most people, it's like they're never thinking about that. It's like, slow down, I'm alive, I'm breathing. That will slow things down a bit. And the great news is that the divine is never rushing and racing, right? You know, some people, it's like, there's no race, there's no marathon, there's no sprint. I was doing that myself, right? Like, I could speak from experience. I was running, and it's like, slow down. Yeah, there's no race. There's no sprint.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. And thank you for coming to the show. The final question I have for you is, what advice would you give to other coaches like yourself who are looking to scale their impact from your perspective, or like an advice you give to yourself?
Yeah, you're not going to be surprised. You're absolutely not going to be surprised. I am going to say, look into your backpack. The beauty of that is that when people are excited, they have passion, they have a purpose, they've connected to a vision, especially if they're a driven type, right? They can do all the things. There's so many things you can do, and there's so many things you can be excited about. And I so appreciate that. But if you actually take the time to look into your backpack, you'll save yourself years and so much effort, because it's like you're not pushing against yourself. Right? Whenever you don't have awareness of what's in your subconscious mind, you're battling yourself and you're not even aware of it. It will make it so much smoother, so much more aligned, so much more peaceful if you pause at least for a little bit and just look in your backpack.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. And thank you for coming to our show. For anyone who wants to connect with you or find you, they can go into LinkedIn, Elizabeth Payne. They'll be able to find you there. They can also go into the website, elizabethpayne.com. They'll be able to find you there as well. Is there any other way people could reach out to you or connect with you?
That's perfect. Website, LinkedIn. I do have YouTube too if people want to check me out on YouTube.
And same thing, right? Elizabeth Payne
Yeah,
on YouTube?
that's it.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
That's it for this episode of Career Coaching Secrets. If you enjoyed this conversation, you can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening to this episode to catch future episodes. This podcast was brought to you by Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, or even $100,000 weeks, all without burning out and making sure that you're making the impact and having the life that you want. To learn more about our community and how we can help you, visit joinpurplecircle.com.